the community helpers who will help maintain the garden over the summer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the irrigation they have is not only a nice feature to save work, but it sounds like it was a requirement to be able to actually use the food in the school?
No, the system itself was not a requirement. You just need a public water supply.
Okay, so even if it
Okay,
was
you
just
can-
from a watering can, as long as it was coming
Exactly.
from... Gotcha.
Exactly. The irrigation was put in just to make life easier for everybody
I'm sure it will.
involved. Yeah, yeah.
Is that going to be on a timing system?
It's on a timing system,
Wow.
right? Yeah. So, and it's all, I mean, everything we've done at the garden, we've been able to do things like that because it's all volunteer labor. Okay, we pay for, you know, we've had to pay obviously for the materials, though some were donated. Soil and sand and things like that were donated by a local company. And equipment has been donated by people who've used it there. So, and it's just been complete volunteer labor besides that.
So, how much actual cash have you had to spend on the project?
It's about $10,000.
Okay.
On that, yeah.
And if you had to
between
value all the in-kind service,
be a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be close to that in the end.
okay,
Yeah. So, you know, equipment's expensive. There have been
Absolutely.
excavators, tractors.
yeah.
There, it's
And it's
Yeah, it
beautifully
adds
done.
up.
I mean,
It
it's
adds
not. I mean, you could get a little sense of it from the video.
right. No,
but
we had the raised beds. Someone,
Yeah.
you know, made all the tops for the raised beds, and other parents came in and made all the sides, put it together. There's hardware cloth. There's, you know, there's a fence so rabbits can't get in underground. and,
Wow.
and there's hardware cloth under all the beds. It's built to, you know, to be easy to maintain. Okay,
Yeah.
so it doesn't go into disrepair. Okay, we
Yeah.
want it to stay looking good.
Absolutely. I'm sure the money spent up front is going to be well worth it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So,
So, what are some of the curricular plans that some of the teachers have? Like, what are maybe a couple of the most creative ones that?
some who, well, in second grade they study community, how, you know, that you're part of this school community and then you're part of a bigger town community, and then I think they go on from there in third grade. So they're actually going to be planting food to use, well, that will be given to food pantries. So that was one creative one. Others are doing things where they do colonial studies, so they want to grow a lot of herbs that they use. They have a colonial day once a year where the kids dress up and take horse and carriage rides and then come back, go visit a one-room schoolhouse in town, and then come back, and actually an ex-principal comes in and makes a lot of, shows them how herbs were used by the colonials. So he has a huge list of herbs that he usually brings in, so we'll try to grow them for him so the kids can see how they're grown and
Excellent.
learn about that. Some teachers will just plant like a diversity, just showing how things are diversified in nature, where they'll plant different varieties of lettuces just to show that things are the same and different to the younger grades. And then there's just the whole botany issue of, you know, growing things from seed and to harvest, and dissecting flowers are some of the other ideas that teachers came up with. There's a lot of curriculum written for gardens. Actually,
yeah.
we found out 2 teachers and myself took an online gardening class over the winter, and there are a lot of books written for this because it's become pretty big
Sure.
across the nation. So there's ways to use math in the garden, perimeter, you know, of beds, volumes, measurements, things like that. So I think they'll use it. They'll also use it for things like descriptive writing, materials for art projects, just going out and drawing in the garden, just quiet time reading. You know, we got a lot of feedback from the teachers of how they could use it. I think it's just going to evolve. They'll use it a little the first year, maybe a little more the next year. You know, it takes time to see how to make it work into their curriculum. And it hasn't been there, so they've just been thinking about it. I think
Sure.
once it's there, they'll come up with more ideas and be able to use it more.
Great. Now, obviously, throughout the school year, they're there, the staff, the kids.
Right.
During the summer, you mentioned helpers. So
Right.
how is it managed during the summer months?
Well, during the summer months, what you saw in the video were beds along the center. There's actually a whole series of beds planned for along the fence line for the community to
Okay.
use. And the idea is that if you can garden there, if you don't have a place to garden, the soil will be there. It's fenced. It's irrigated. It's a lot of benefits to using a plot there. And in return, that you would help maintain the classroom beds over the summer and be able to take produce from them that isn't, going to a food pantry or something. If there's an excess.
So there's no rental fee, it's just strictly
No
in
rental
exchange for helping
Exactly.
maintain.
Right.
Well, that's a great
Yeah.
arrangement.
Yeah, hopefully it'll work
Have you already
out
had people take you up on
when
that?
we get there. We haven't yet. We know of a few people that are interested, but it's hard to, get that all nailed down when you don't feel finished yet.
Yeah.
So
The summer's coming up.
exactly right. So we have 2 beds available. If anyone's looking for 2 of those nice beds in exchange for a little labor on the others, yeah, that would be good.
Wonderful.
So,
And so, like I said, I'm hoping to do one here in Winsted. We're part of the
Okay.
Rotary, and the Rotary is looking at sponsoring one in conjunction with one of the schools. What would be some of your advice on some of the key things to think about in the beginning, or maybe things that you would do differently than you did?
I think just the key thing is to get people who are with different skills, who are able to. For ours, I don't know if you would need it, but we had one parent who was good at fundraising and could do that with her small children. So she took on the fundraising. We had obviously the woman who was a Montessori teacher and who had used a garden in the classroom before, so that helped tie it into the school. We have another member who's a graphic artist who did all our flyers and was our PR person, made it, everything very clear when we were trying to raise money. And then we have, people like myself and my husband who can build the garden, actually do the construction, but you do need a lot of hands-on for that. Okay,
Yeah.
That's the biggest part. I think that's been the biggest challenge, is finding volunteers and getting it built. I think once it's built, it will still be challenging to find volunteers to take care of it, but not as challenging as getting it built. And the fundraising, just finding sponsorships and things like that, getting the word out there.
So
it's important.
now it was $10,000 to get it up and running,
Right.
plus all the volunteer labor. What
Right.
kind of ongoing expenses do you anticipate?
I don't anticipate a lot of ongoing expenses, but I'm sure it's going to be $1,000 a year or 50, something in that figure, just to coat the tops of the beds with a sealer each year, to have money for plants, supplies, tools that might break, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think that would be easy.
Now,
Hopefully to raise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope so, especially
Yeah.
once they see the benefits of it for the
Right.
kids and the community.
Right.
Now, the early concerns of the town was maintenance. Is the town or the school providing any ongoing support, or it's really entirely on the volunteer committee?
Yeah, that was mostly the concern of the Board of Ed,
Okay.
that it was maintained. I don't. So far, there's been no offer really of the school to take that on. I don't know. In the future, hopefully, a teacher would take on the role of coordinating all the beds, like I did this year, to
Just
for
decide
as
what's
far as the
planting where.
planting.
Yeah.
Right, and then, but I think we're really looking for that community support in the summer for maintenance, and hopefully a garden club, like an after-school garden club, could be started for kids to help maintain it.
Sure.
But it's always going to need a core of volunteers to keep it up and running, I believe. Because it's big. It's bigger than the school needs, unless they want to suddenly take on all the community beds in it,
Right.
in it too. But the other key thing too is just getting people, even if you have a committee, getting people who will pull together when the time comes to, help each other. It's part of the committee, help with the building and help with the fundraising. That's important.
So, you've put all this work in so far. It's just starting to come to fruition.
Right.
What to you would signify success? Like this is like, what's your vision to say, all right, we've achieved it?
We've achieved it. Just having all the beds planted and having the kids out there using it, getting food into the school, having the teachers work it into the curriculum, seeing the kids get the physical activity and trying new foods, things like that. Just getting it worked more into the curriculum would be key, but also having the kids eat more vegetables.
Absolutely.
That's.
Now, I wonder if there's an opportunity. In our last episode, we had the Winstead Farmers Market out here. I wonder if there's an opportunity to actually sell some of the produce at a local farmers market. Just not only to make some money, maybe to support the garden, but also it's a great experience for the kids.
For the kids to get out there. That's something we would consider down the line too. We thought of that as far as pumpkins, planting a lot of pumpkins and doing something like that in the fall. As a fundraiser, something like that would be good. I think our key is to try to get the food into the school if we can. But that's definitely, that has been brought up.
So is there any kind of attempt to encourage kids or families to come up with recipes for what they're planting to maybe use in the school? We
haven't gotten to that point. We have someone who was on the committee and had to leave because she was busy, who manages the farmers market in town and is also a chef. So that was kind of her department. and she did work in the school kitchen for a while. So, but that definitely, is another idea. That's a good idea. But she was going to try to incorporate things we grew and tell us to grow certain things that she knew could be used easily in the garden.
It's just such a great resource that has so many different ways to connect it to the school and the community.
It is, yeah. There's a lot of, just that it's cross curriculum. It's good physical activity for the kids. It can be very inspiring. It's a life skill that I think every kid should have. We grew up, probably you and I, with gardens, but the kids today aren't growing up with gardens so much so in their backyards.
They have no idea where the food is coming from.
Right. So it's good for that. It creates a little magic. The garden's there to hopefully, create that sense of awe for kids and inspire them. And it's good. Just it'll be an organic garden, so it's good for them to become good stewards of our earth that way, learn that aspect as well.
Excellent. Well, Agnes, thanks so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed it and having me out on Friday to see